Greetings, weary travelers, and welcome to The Keep. My name is Lindsey the Keeper, and while most patrons have their own personal goals they want their subordinates to complete, mine just wants me to tell cringy TTRPGs horror stories with the help of my assistants, Tao. Normally, I would save this video for Pride Month, but I decided to use it a bit early because I just returned to the scene. I wanted to still have different stories before doing the longer videos. Plus, this video is special in a different reason entirely. In today's video, we have 4 stories. One being about a DM who kills 2 of OP's characters for being trans, even though they were in the closet. The second story was sent to me by an email once upon a time by a fan, and I was able to finally find it again, which was back when they were in high school. The third and final stories were written by OP, who left the group because a player was being transphobic to her, and she even made an update story to what happened afterwards. Now, sit back, relax, and cuddle up to your favorite tendril as we dive in on these horror stories. Enjoy! Danger zone. This first story is written by user Penny Into Quarters with the title DM kills 2 of my characters and calls me a slur. Uncertain if this is a horror story because of me or the other players, but for context, I was playing in a 5e game in high school. Important people in this story are me, a closeted trans person playing a human fighter and later a changeling warlock, DM, the DM, Tiefling rogue, and some other non-human party members. In previous campaigns held by this group, there was a lot of PvP and loot goblin shenanigans, so I figured playing an antagonistic party member that would grow during the campaign wouldn't be too bad. So, I rolled up a mildly racist human fighter. She grew on our orc party member, but Tiefling never gave a reason to trust her in-game. My character continues to not trust the Tiefling. Later on, DM vaporized my character with an adult black dragon while we, the party, are level 3. Come to find out from someone else in our group, DM intentionally killed my character because she was a problem. Okay, that's fine. So I figured I'd roll up a new character. A little silly changeling warlock who gets up to shenanigans with some of the other characters in the party, such as attempting to start a logging business with our Goliath party member. When I told DM that said changeling uses female personas, I got heckled by DM, with him asking if I was a insert slur for trans people repeatedly. Afterwards, DM began to get annoyed by my character's shenanigans, and instead of talking to me about it, DM had a trap in a dungeon that absolutely crushed my changeling with a rock. No death saves, nothing, just instant death, and mind you, this entire year-long campaign, my characters are the only ones who died. I thought the first death was fine and even ended comically when the orc kept my fighter's remains in a jar. But it just became frustrating ultimately. The campaign fell apart shortly after since school was moved in 2020 for obvious reasons. But I'd just like to know, was I the problem player? End of story 1. So I read the comments on this story, and while I do see why people say OP wasn't the problem player, there is a small part of me that thinks you might be the problem. Not with the second character, but the first one. We don't have enough information if the other players and the DM were okay with OP playing the racist human who later becomes less of a racist human trope or not. Because if they did have a conversation and were okay with this, then why did the DM nuke the character? Which leads me to the real root of the problem as well, the DM. The DM failed at doing their job of solving problems without causing more problems in the group. As a DM, if you don't like something that the player is wanting to do, talk to them. Whether it is the racist human fighter or the changeling warlock who wants to start a logging company or whatever, if you don't like it, or it just doesn't fit the theme of the campaign, talk to that player. Don't just insta-kill them because you're tired of their shenanigans, especially if the group itself does PvP and loot goblin shenanigans in general. Last note before we move on to the next story, you are playing D&D. Who gives a f if John wants to play a female barbarian based off Xena the Warrior Princess, or Jay wants to play a mixed rogue ranger class of John Wick for fun? If you have a problem with that, whether or not that person is trans or not, then you might need to get some professional help. Na na na, danger zone. The second story was written by Catherine, Chat for short, with the title, If I Can't Be Goku, You Can't Be LGBTQIA+, which was sent to me through my email. First of all, I must start by saying that this happened during session 0 of my first D&D campaign ever. I was 12 years old, and in full, I'm working on understanding my gender. This is important for later. The cast. Francis, a chill boy who was always bringing in new ideas to the table, basically the group big brother, also the DM. Lucy, 13, lovely gal with a kindness in her heart, always down to help. She's playing Dala, an elf cleric. Bernadette, 12, quiet girl, doesn't talk much, always in the constant state of the burnout phase, gets very talkative while RPing or acting. She's playing Clam, a human paladin. Me, playing my character Heather, a merfolk bard. And finally, the problem player, 15, let's call him Spawn of Satan. Me and the other players were doing our character sheets while Francis was checking his notes when we heard our teacher call us to ask us if we had space for one more player, and we said yes. We were in a club, so it's not like we could say no to other members anyways. And then he walks in. Now, Spawn was annoying to say the least. He never helped out during club activities. He was always shouting at people who point out his bad behavior or disagreed with him. He always chimed in during private conversations to voice his opinion on things he had no say in. And the most annoying of all, he was an over-obsessive and toxic Dragon Ball fanboy. Actually, he was the obsessive and toxic Dragon Ball fanboy. No matter what you were doing or saying, he had to make it about Dragon Ball. Spawn, what are you playing? DM, we're playing D&D. It's basically like an RPG fantasy game where you do quests and hero stuff. Spawn, I'm in. Let me play. Lucy goes to explain to Spawn how to make a character and what was allowed and what wasn't. Now, he's making his character too, and all was fine for 20 minutes or so, until he wobbled out of his seat and handed the sheet to Francis. Francis looked somewhat confused and a little annoyed. He then started to speak. DM, I'm so sorry, but you will need to adjust your character a little, 'cause I can't make you play like this. You didn't follow the guidelines or rules. Those are few and flexible, so you should be able to do something you still like. Lucy, do you need me to help you out more? I can if you need it. I could foresee disaster. I knew too well the he pulled all the time. Now, I must confess that I had quite a grudge against Spawn, as he wasn't nice to me to say the least. So, I decided to take a look at the character sheet to see how I could find an excuse to be mean to him. Yes, I know, I was an asshole. So, I go behind Francis and take a look. I almost couldn't believe what I saw, except I could believe it. He called his character Goku. Under race he wrote Saiyan. His class was Prince, and all his stats were all too high. Like, too high for anything. We're talking like 100 on everything. I almost laughed at how absurd the thing was. You could say he didn't understand, but that could barely be possible. Lucy was very good at explaining the rules and was very, very clear on what he could do. Also, she had the handbook, and she handed it out to everyone like it was sandwiches and juices on a field trip. We had to convince him to change things around to play the game. After like 30 minutes of arguing over why he couldn't be a Super Saiyan, we heard a soft sigh from the corner of the table. Bernadette, what if we compromise a little bit more? Let's see what we can do, okay? What if he were to be some kind of magical monkey who's a monk named Goku? Would that be good for all of you? We were all okay with this, except for Spawn, who started arguing over how we were just jealous about his character. But alas, he relented. We started. Finally. We all met in a tavern at dawn, and for various reasons, we started chit-chatting. We start to talk about ourselves and get to know each other. The paladin girl is the one to start the conversation. Calm. Lovely place that is, right? Name's Count Draconia. I come from Arcadia. Oh, and this beautiful maiden is Dahlia. She's my wife. Dahlia silently nods and then points at my character, who was singing while sitting on the other side of the table. Dahlia, you must be the tavern's bard. I must say you have a lovely voice. What is your name? My bard hops towards her and calm and introduces himself. I think now's the time to address something important about my character and myself. Back then, I still didn't quite understand that I was non-binary, and I liked to play male characters so I could hear people call me with different pronouns. It made me feel good, so I made my bard a boy with a girl's name. This is when Spawn started to act weird. Spawn, you can't play him. It's against the rules. Me, what? Spawn, you are a girl, so you can't play a boy. Also, Heather's a girl's name. Me, my dude, I can play a boy if I want to, and I want to, so shut up. Spawn, that's not fair. I could have played like I wanted, but she can. She is cheating. Lucy, Spawn, you basically asked to create an entire race and class just because you wanted to be Goku. She just changed her pronouns. It's totally different. There is no rule against being a boy if you are a girl in real life. Now, here is where everything went ballistic. He stood up from his chair, looked at all of us, and then he started screaming and pounding on the table like a giant man baby. He shouted incoherent stuff for a while, and after basically destroying the table, he calmed down and said this damn jam of, "Oh hell no, you said that out loud." Spawn, she is a girl, and she needs to play a girl. If you could choose your gender, then why take away the romance between normal people by making the cleric and paladin girls? That's stupid. I'm not playing with you idiots anymore. And just like that, he headed out the room. And we were finally free from him, and we could play without Goku Man being pissy about us existing without his approval. The end. TLDR, 15-year-old Spawn of Satan plays D&D with 12-year-olds and can't get over not being allowed to be Super Saiyan Goku. Decides it would be nice to have a tantrum and be homophobic and transphobic towards characters. End of story 2. thank you, Kat, for emailing me your story, and I do apologize if I pronounced your name wrong. I'm terrible with names in general, just wanted to put out there in the universe. And sorry it took me longer than necessary, but I figured since this is the new year and it sort of fits the theme, I figured you would enjoy it. During our email exchange, they mentioned that they wanted to do a fan art of this channel, and originally I was planning on waiting until they were finished to do a multi-video thing plus drawing type of deal. But I highly understand that if life happens and you get busy, it's all good. Still the same answer. Take your time, don't feel like you're being rushed, and if you have questions, just hit me up on my email or my socials. I know I'm terrible with the social media part, but I am slowly getting better at it. Slowly, like an elderly when the internet started to exist. But on a serious note, it's fine going through life figuring out who you are. I know when I was around Kat's age, I thought I was bisexual. Now as an adult for some time now, I have learned that I am a pan-demisexual, pan-romantic, and I'm genderqueer. I didn't discover all this in one day. It takes time and realization to learn that. Trust me, take your time to learn about yourself. You don't need to rush it. One last thing, for all those who are Goku fans or fans of Dragon Ball that wants to make something like this, try this for size. Use the raise Hado Z, class, monk, subclass, way of the sun soul, but your stats are mainly strength, dex, and maybe wisdom just to make the monk class functional, and there you go. I'm not sure what background you would use for a Goku-like character, but this is at least a good start for you guys, right? Right. Let's go on to the next story. Na na na, danger zone. This story and update was written by user OilNew2414 with the title Transphobic Player Casts Resurrection on Me. So this happened over the weekend. I joined a group my friend was DMing. It was a high-level campaign as they were prepping to go fight the god of the hells in his homebrew setting. Their last player had personal matters that made them drop out of the campaign, so the DM invited me to take their place. Here's some important information. I am a trans woman and often play as trans or cis women characters. The party was all level 14 at this point. The party is as follows: a dwarf fighter, an elf wizard, a drow cleric, aka the problem player, and me, a trans mark of handling human ranger. Problems immediately started when I joined the call. The cleric immediately said, "There he is, finally," despite me having she/they on my username. The DM corrected cleric and he apologized, so I let it slide. Maybe it was just a slip-up, right? As the adventure continued, cleric kept avoiding interacting with me and kept interrupting during my turn to suggest better ways of using my abilities. He would casually drop slurs for disabled people, specifically calling me the R slur repeatedly. I am used to people like that though, so I just told him to stop and he toned it down a little. Eventually, we came upon one of the demon gods' general and got into combat. Near the end, my character failed all 3 death saving throws, thanks Nat 1. The rest of the party barely scraped by, and the cleric healed everyone up, then used a 7th level spell slot to cast Resurrection on my character. I thanked him, but he ignored me and said to the DM, "I look up his skirt. Did his dick grow back? Resurrection makes missing body parts come back." Everyone went silent, and I left the call. The DM reached out to apologize on cleric's behalf, but I haven't responded to any messages from the group. I might just stop being DM's friend because he's clearly comfortable hanging around transphobes and creeps. End of post 3. So here is something that I might not have mentioned in previous videos. I eventually become a passive-aggressive when it comes to pronouns/names for people. I think part of it is because I am friends with people who are trans, non-binary, gender fluid, etc. who have pronouns/names that they have expressed for people to use. Anytime when I hear someone misgendering someone I care about or call them by the wrong name, I start small where I'd be like, oh, you mean insert correct pronoun or corrected name to correct them. Luckily for me, the people I do this usually are quick to correct themselves and it stops being an issue. But if I had a chance for someone who continued to being a dick about misgendering or dead-naming someone, I think I might be like, dude, why are you so obsessed with them? Are you jealous? Are you insecure about yourself? Just making a point of how much of a dick this person is. But don't worry, because as I mentioned before, there is an update that OP has made, so let's go, because I have words about the DM himself. Danger zone. The final story is user OilNew2414 updated story is called Update on the Transphobic Player's Situation. Hey all, I am back with the update to my previous post from a few days ago. I ended up talking with DM again yesterday and he told me that he had never known Cleric to be that horrible. He apologized for not doing anything in the moment. He was just too stunned and told me he banned Cleric right after I left. He acknowledged my feelings and understood that my trust in him had somewhat diminished, but he promised to work hard to earn that trust back, and I'm giving him a second chance. I will not be playing with that group still because I'd rather play D&D with people I trust. As for Cleric, I know he sent DM a heated message using many more slurs which DM said hadn't really been an issue before. Maybe Cleric would slip up here and there, but it was never as bad as when I was at the table. Cleric berated DM, calling him a T-slur loving F-slur and much more. Gross things, as well as telling DM that he hopes that my eventual surgeries get botched. All in all, I'm kind of glad that I went to that table, because the rest of the party and DM would still be playing with a truly awful person in their midst. Also, I'd like to say thank you to the mods who seem to have a field day with all the other transphobes in the comments. Appreciate all. End of final post. Good on you, OP, for leaving that group, even though you have forgiven the DM for just letting the Cleric's bad behavior slide all this time, doesn't mean you want to keep enduring that abuse. Also, it's a tall tale nowadays if someone says any type of slurs in their everyday vocabulary. Just screams, red flag, drop that trash immediately. Even more so if someone who is around that kind of person is okay with this. That is also a sign. It seems like the DM dropped the Cleric as a friend as well, but the DM should have done more. Sure, he told Cleric to use the correct pronouns and name, but he didn't stop Cleric's other bad behaviors, which led to the whole "does his dick grow back" debacle. For any future DMs, if you have a player that is acting like Cleric did in this story, confront them. This type of behavior shouldn't be around at all. Players can also assist as well to confront this situation, but it's the DM's job to discipline problem players, even if it results in the problem player's dismissal. OP, I hope you found another group that values you as a person. Now that the stories are finished, I'm going to depart for now. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Until then, may you find your worth in the waking world.